Welcome to Getting Sports with Drunk. I'm your hostess, Cupcake the Riddler, and I'm joined by
Mark.
Sheen Washable.
Nope.
Yep.
Soulsy.
J-Mart.
No, he's not here.
Yeah.
No J-Mart tonight. Sad.
Bitch.
Kyle, good.
Kyle with a golf clap.
Welcome to our end of the NFL season, end of the fourth quarter show. We should do an overtime show. We should do an overtime show.
Time's expired.
That's playoffs.
Nah, that's true. Time's expired. Do the waving in the arms thing. But before we get into that, starting lineups, Sheen Washable, would you care to lead it off?
Yes, I have from the Czech Republic a Gambrinus 10.
What kind of beer is that?
It's I believe it's a lager, I believe.
Okay. Souls?
Oh, I got the Harvest Hefe from Sam Adams.
Are you about to do a beer review? You're about to go right into your beer review, aren't you?
Yeah.
It's kind of hard to do considering I haven't opened it yet.
I know. But I can already tell. Say it. Sam.
Red
Might have
Baron?
done I.
I have the Heady Topper from The Alchemist in Vermont. It is an ale.
Vermin.
Vermont, and it's 8%. I love it. It was like a cheat sheet. Everything I need to know is on the can. It says on the top, drink from the can. So I'm very excited for that.
What if you don't, though?
Well, then you're breaking the rules.
All right, then.
I bet you on your bottle it tells you what glass to pour it in.
I think that's a Goose Island thing.
Is it? Well, I bet you on your...
I was also wrong. This is a Pilsner.
Oh, my God.
Well, that's a f***ing shot, bruh.
Nope.
You claimed that.
That's a shot. You got the right.
You claimed this is your favorite.
Yeah, you
beer.
did. You claimed before the show it's one of your favorite beers. You
It
didn't know.
is.
You have to do a shot.
Take a shot, you
It's a
f***ing filthy
shot.
animal.
Actually, he should have to shotgun it. So he has no beer for the whole show.
Oh, that'd be terrible. 16-ounce shotgun. Nice. Continuing the... well, hold on. Let's get his reaction because we've added some new elixir to the private stock.
Much
It's a lot-
darker now.
Yeah. It's not that bad.
It's not that good.
I'm continuing in the Farmhouse series. Well, I should probably say these aren't all Farmhouse ales, but they're all like in the same series essentially.
All bombers.
No, they're not bombers. They're 750s.
All 750s.
Ooh, shot.
But this week's is the Juliet, the Belgian style wild ale, and I'm very excited. So before we crack our beers, round of the horn, toast of excellence, souls.
Mine goes out to Stephen Ridley, who scored his first touchdown since 2014.
Mine goes out to me because I'm the best there is, the best there was, and the best there ever will be. Did I say that right?
I think so.
All right, no, mine actually goes out to the old meat log hanging himself, Frank Gore, on becoming just the fifth player in NFL history to rush for 14,000 yards. Joins a pretty elite list. Kyle, can you name them all?
Emmett.
That's all you got? All
So I got it in my head right now.
right, so it's Emmitt Smith, Walter Payton, Barry Sanders, and Curtis Martin.
And Emmett.
And Emmett. I like you said it too, like, and Emmett.
Red Baron? Yeah.
My toast of excellence goes out to the Buffalo Bills. After 17 seasons, they're in the playoffs, and I am ecstatic.
It's their first playoff berth of the 21st century.
Their fans went nuts. The video was so good.
Andy Dalton, the hottest guy in Buffalo.
And the Riddler and I were looking at something. Bill sent the
Bills
Bengals a
sent
letter.
the Bengals a thank you letter and said that they were sending them wings.
Well, if you saw, like, Bills fans were donating money to, like, Andy Dalton's charity. They are just excited.
Just to be disappointed.
Hey, we don't know that yet.
Uh,
Do you remember the Seahawks? They were 7-9. They made the playoffs, and certain Marshawn Lynch and Tyler
they don't
Polumbus
even know if McCoy's going to play.
ran down the field, knocking down all those
Here's
Saints.
the thing, especially in the NFL.
Then lost to the Bears.
In the playoffs, anything can happen. Any team can beat any team. No matter.
So you're telling me right now that in these wild card playoffs, the Bears could beat the Packers?
if they were in the playoffs,
No,
yeah.
you got to use disclaimers, guy. All right, you're lucky I'm not going to send some shots your way.
No.
Who's your toast of excellence?
My toast is to the New York Rangers for winning the Winter Classic.
Wow, wasn't expecting that. That might be a shot. That's not football related.
Doesn't have to be.
Toast of excellence, gentlemen. Hold on. Producer sitting on his ass. Get your brew ready.
I was ready.
We were itching your crotch. All right, toast of excellence. It's wild. We also have some more, great news for, the man of many names. The 2017 Pick'em winner. Supposedly. We have to go back and check the math.
He does the math himself, so there's definitely some errors.
Oh, I'm sorry, Mister. I almost finished him last.
Whoa. So would you care to kind of recap? So you were in first.
I'll
Paul
recap
was
the
in
season.
second.
I'll recap the season for you real
Okay.
quick. So yeah, the way the standings worked was it was Kyle, then me, then Kendall.
Only 2 games back.
Okay, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you lose by an inch or a mile. Losing is losing. Vin Diesel. Kyle was in first. I was in second. Kendall was in third, and then tied for last was Mock and Jeff. Now, season recap. Pretty much all you need to know. I was in first all season, and Kyle had 2 great last 2 weeks and overtook me. Or so he says.
Exactly.
But I did. Dude, you were in first for the first 4 weeks, and then
That's not true.
tanked.
I've pretty much been in first the whole season.
I was in first for
No.
a little while early on.
Nope.
Okay.
No. Jeff was in first weeks 1 through 7. And then he didn't pick for 6 straight. No, I'm shooting. Oh, that'd be terrible. So congratulations, Kyle. Shot trivia.
So I'm gonna go and take a shot of this bad boy real quick.
Do you have your question ready?
Oh, I do.
Oh, okay. This is... Jeez.
You're going to punch yourself in the head.
And then slammed it on the table in the process, too. This is going to be so good. I love your faces that you make. We should make like a collage of the faces of private stock.
This is not a real thing.
I think he's playing it up, though, because it's not that bad.
Oh, it's terrible.
What are some of the things we put in it when we?
Red, white, and blue berry vodka, UV blue vodka, peach
Some
brandy.
E&J.
Yeah, peach E&J brandy.
Blackberry brandy.
Blackberry brandy, yep.
What have you picked?
Pick
Pinnacle
something.
strawberry.
Picked something.
How did vodka went into this? How did it get so brown?
We something like deep forest or
Yeah.
deep some river.
Wasn't a river.
Forest, a deep forest. It was
Okay.
it was a whiskey, I'm pretty sure, but
Yeah.
not good.
It was blue for a little while.
We should put some Kraken in there next time. Get a nice black rum
Some
going in
Pop Rocks?
there. That's the same thing, pretty much. Yeah.
Some pop
Caribbean rum, Pop Rocks, they're hand in hand. So question?
Anywho, Marvin Lewis just finished his 15th season with the Cincinnati Bengals. How many career wins does he have?
With the Bengals?
Yeah.
Has he ever coached anywhere else?
No.
I don't know.
Could we get a base number, like how many games are in a season over that many years?
He's coached 240 games.
240 games.
Yeah.
Okay.
Including playoffs, which we know they've never won one.
Yeah.
All right. So I'm gonna say he has a 121 wins and whatever the loss record of that is.
He doesn't have any playoff wins?
No.
No.
not
He's
one.
0
that's
and 7.
horrible. That's horrible.
You said coach 240 games?
240.
I'm going to say 109.
117.
Paul loses.
Nice.
It was 125.
Nice.
I
Within
did-
4.
I didn't think he was above 500. That's some pretty terrible years.
But they also had a few 12-win seasons, 11-win seasons.
All right.
They've only had one 12 game.
I've been doing pretty well. I haven't really lost in a while.
It's pretty much been bouncing between Kyle and I.
I think we should keep it in the family. I think Kendall should lose.
I lose every week somehow. So
Excellent. I feel like I'm forgetting something. Am I forgetting something?
where we're recording from tonight?
Oh, yeah. Where are we recording from?
From the GDH Woodworking Studios. Greg is not in attendance today. It was actually pretty funny getting in here. We usually would come to the studio and the light is shining in the room. Get here, his truck is here, but it's dark. So we're like, oh no,
And the sink's running.
sink's running. So we couldn't get a hold of him. And Souls, being the genius that he is, goes, hey, why don't we look under the mat? Like, I think, Kyle, no
Shut
way.
up.
You are an idiot. Sure enough, we're idiots. I'm an idiot. Key under the mat. Got in. We set up.
Well, it took you a little while to get in.
Well,
Kendall had some trouble with the key.
I asked the Riddler to help me because I'm not really good with things.
I wish it was like a scavenger hunt to find the key.
But it was funny. Afterwards, we called Greg, and he didn't even know there was a key. So just a surprise to him as it was to us. But we're glad to be here, and good show.
Thanks, Greg.
Thanks, Greg.
NFL. End of the season. It's here. It's upon us. End of regulation.
Sad.
Overtime to come. Not really.
Not really.
Yeah, I don't want
I'm sad.
You want the season to be longer?
No, I think it's fine the way it
I
is.
wish it was August again.
I'm sad when it's over, but I'm ready. I'm ready to move on.
Yeah, but like I'm not really sad because like football's like the one sport that like they just like the minute there's something to talk about, they just blow it up for like weeks. It's like we're still going to hear about football until 2 weeks into February, and then we're going to be hearing about it all over again when the combine starts, and then we won't stop hearing about it until.
I agree with the Riddler. It's the most insufferable analysis of any sport. They just beat it to death. So that's one aspect I don't like, but I am sad that it's over. Ish.
It's okay though. There won't be as big of a lull in the whole sports world this year because usually the summertime, in between the draft and like free agency and training camp, it's usually pretty lull because it's just baseball. Like basketball and hockey are too freshly over to really talk about. But World Cup this summer, so I know none of you will be watching it, but I will be.
Well, we can make it fun. I'll watch some World Cup.
I'll tune in.
You guys should have to do a shot for every. You guys should pick a team and you have to do a shot for every goal they concede.
Do they do kind of a bracket in the World Cup system?
Groupings.
Groupings. Would it be too difficult to do like a bracket?
What do you mean?
Like a all the way to the championship? There's just too many teams.
Like March Madness, kind of.
I mean, like I could explain to you guys how the groupings works. Essentially, there's like, so once everybody qualifies, well, everybody is qualified because it's this year, but once everybody's set into their groups and everything, once the tournament starts, everybody plays each opponent in their group once, and then the two highest point totals go into the knockout stages. So I think 30. I can't remember if it's 64 teams. Yeah, I think 64 teams go to the World Cup. 32 make it to the knockout stages. And then after that, it's just one game.
USA didn't make it, though.
No, they did not qualify. So
Bums.
it'll be interesting. But anyway, wrong football. We're not talking about that football. That's football. So, end of the season. It's upon us. As per usual, who's hot, who's not. So, Machine Washable, why don't you lead us off with a who's hot and who's not, team-wise? One of each.
Well, a team that's hot going into the playoffs for me is the Jacksonville Jaguars. Bortles played great towards the end of the season. Defense was still playing good. They got some steam rolling in.
I can see the smoke pouring out of Kyle's ears. Excellent. Who's not?
A team that's not hot going into the playoffs. I don't know. It's tough because they all made the playoffs, and like a lot of the teams to get in needed help and got it. And
so then you could pick a team. You could pick a team then that's
team that didn't make the playoffs. Baltimore Ravens. That was pretty heartbreaking
for them, not for two of the four people at this table. But they just hate the color purple. The movie, not the team.
Both.
Yeah. Well, I'll go next then. So a team for me who's not. I'm going to go ahead and say the Cleveland Browns.
That's a cop-out.
Yeah. But it's true. No, I'll say my team who's not. I'm going to say the Detroit Lions. I mean, they had a good win in the end of the year, but just once again, another season of Matt Stafford playing out of his mind with no running game and a defense that's kind of inopportune and like they kind of just give up plays at the wrong moments and just, I mean, you can't be a successful organization if you rely on a fourth quarter comeback. It just doesn't work. Team who's hot though, Jimmy G and the 49ers.
Yeah, Jimmy Garoppolo.
Yeah, they're hot. 5 wins in a row, including a nice, even though there were resting players going on, but a nice win to cap off the season against the division opponent and division winning Rams. So Jimmy G setting the 49ers aflame.
Now, do you think like the 49ers organization likes that happened? Like if they don't sign Garoppolo, he like killed their draft position.
But it's one of those things where it's like, yeah, like he dropped their draft position greatly, but at the same time, like now you actually have a piece to build around.
That's what if they don't sign him, if he doesn't stay in San Fran,
he's going back. They're going to offer him so much money.
My thing is I think they're going to sign him because they show he showed promise and what he can
I think
do.
They should.
And like now they have some. If they don't, even if they didn't trade for him and just tanked out the season, they would have just been in the same boat as the Browns are in, because it doesn't matter if you have the number 1 draft pick, because you just keep drafting people and you have to have, like, it's nice to draft people, but there's going to be someone to build around. So, like, the Browns are continuously every year hoping that one of these big draft picks for them blows up, and then that becomes the guy they build around. But the 49ers did it without the draft, so now they can use the draft accordingly. Souls, who's hot?
Who's hot? I'm also saying the 49ers.
No, you can't. I already said that. That's a shot, and you can't say that. It's cheating.
Not cheating.
Ridley was so fast, even a little bit.
No. Pick a different team.
No.
That was funny.
Pick a different team.
Can I go while
Go first.
Yeah, who's not hot?
Whoa.
Who's not hot?
So I'm going to disagree with Mock going into playoffs. I feel as though the Jacksonville Jaguars are not hot. I feel as though the defense played well enough to win, and Bortles kind of they had the South basically locked up at that point, and they kind of just went through the motions and got in. A team that is hot, obviously the New England Patriots, steamrolling over everyone per their usual, and Tom Brady playing out of his mind per usual. A lot of fun to watch them. Hot team.
Souls.
Who's not hot are the Tennessee Titans. Lost 3 in a row before Week 17.
I wish you watched The Office. You sounded like a mad Kevin so much right there.
Anyway, before Week 17, they lost 3 straight games. They lost the division lead. If they didn't win Week 17, they were out of the playoffs. Mariota hasn't been good down the stretch. Their offense is not good at all. Their defense is subpar. It surprises me that they're even in the playoffs.
All right, who's hot? That doesn't come from the Bay Area.
Yeah. I'm going to go with the Rams. Todd Gurley basically won them 2 straight games before Week 17 when they rested everybody. Locked up the West. They went 12-4. They only really lost to the 49ers because they sat everybody. They're going to go into the playoff pretty good.
All right. So,
feeling pretty good.
Real quick, before we get into the players hot and not category, or players that have surprised you the last 4 games of the season, whatever. What's your we also say we're not talking about the playoffs this show. I meant to lead off with that. That will be the OT show, not the Terrell Owens show. If you have dyslexia, it's just the OT overtime show. That will be coming at a later date. I believe we're going to schedule that for the Pro Bowl weekend,
Yes.
correct? Who knows? Maybe we'll have some Pro Bowl highlight videos of our own.
Ooh.
Maybe a pass, punt, and kick competition.
We should do that.
But so no playoff implications, no predicting of the we'll do our normal Super Bowl predictions. But so what's your biggest gripe about the NFL season? Anything at all? We'll go around the horn. I was curious. I know this is kind of like they weren't prepared for this question, but it can be a player. It can be somebody going a team going to the playoffs. It can be just anything. How something was handled, anything. So I'll lead off to give you an example. My gripe is against the Pittsburgh Steelers. I don't really understand the need to sit a bunch of players that are going to be sitting for another week. Doesn't make any sense to me. It's the recipe for putting people on cold streaks. I don't understand it. You had a team that you were playing that had Bell played wouldn't have been that close. It just wouldn't have been. If Ben had played, it wouldn't have been that close. I mean, you have Smith-Schuster luckily stayed hot, but I don't know. To me, it's just they're going to be taking these star players that are going into the playoffs. They know what's ahead of them. Chances are Cinderella story again. AFC Championship game, whatever. But I don't understand why you wouldn't have them be in real game action for 3 straight weeks.
Riddler, I agree with you, but I will say to this point, the Steelers don't have the Patriots' luck. The Steelers always get hurt just before. I guess they're just trying to prevent that from happening.
That's kind of what I was going to. I think the injury to Brown kind of scared him, and Bell has had a lot of touches this season, so I agree that it sets him up for them to come out flat to open the playoff game. But
I never like 2 weeks off, but it just terrible luck.
I think Brown getting hurt scared him, and they say, we can't, is he playing the first playoff game? I don't even know.
Projected to.
Is he?
We'll see.
I don't know. I
agree,
understand it, but I don't know, still think it's the wrong call. If I was a head coach, that wouldn't be the call I'd make.
I would have at least done limited snap. Get him in.
Treated it like a
something.
preseason game.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
So does anybody else have any gripes about the season?
Yes. And we've discussed this in great detail. And I'm not just saying this because of the Steelers, but we've had such a hard time this entire year knowing what's a catch and what's not. And it's just like, it used to be so simple. 5 seasons ago, the ball either hits the ground or doesn't. And I never know. When it gets down to hey, well, it was rotating, but his hand was underneath it, the ball touched the ground, but he didn't fumble. It's confusing.
Well, the biggest testament to that is Collinsworth. The guy played wide receiver, right?
Yeah.
And he doesn't know what a catch is. And the guy played wide receiver in the NFL for how many years?
8.
They've made it so much more convoluted than I think they intended to, because it's just the way the game is. It happens. You don't have every angle to see everything. It's just gotten so.
Every rule in the NFL used to be black and white, and now every rule in the NFL has a huge grayscale in between. It's very tough. Souls, do you have a gripe?
Yeah, mine is how the Los Angeles Chargers did not make the playoffs. They beat Buffalo head-to-head. And my thought was, if you beat a team head-to-head, they have the pull over you in the playoffs. Doesn't make sense how they did not, and how they needed all that, how they needed, the Ravens to win and stuff like that to get in. I believe they should have gotten in because they beat Buffalo.
What did it come down to? Conference record?
Yeah, it goes overall record, then conference record for wild cards, and then it goes head-to-head.
I think it should go head-to-head in general. If you beat a team, you should be above them.
I mean, I see
both
both
sides.
sides
They may
of
not
the
play
coin.
that team. They may not play that.
I'm talking about head-to-head. If you played that team, you should be in front of them.
I get it, but I get what you're saying, but I don't think I agree with that. Just because if you get a team that because what do you play? How many conference games do you play a year? You play 6 division opponents, and then an entire division is 10, and then 2 random opponents.
Yeah.
Or not random, but
Right,
the 2 other division seedings. So you're playing 12 out of your 16 games against your AFC. I mean, let's just say you have a team that goes, we'll call it 6-6 in the conference, and then beats the entire NFC. And now they finished the season at 10-6, and then you have but one of those wins was against the Bills. Say the Chargers beat the Bills. If the Bills had lost all their NFC games, but then they turn around and they win 10 AFC games, I mean, their road to the Super Bowl is based off of playing AFC opponents, not one specific team in the AFC, but playing the AFC as a whole.
So, did you mention what was their division record? The Chargers have a better first their division than the Bills did? Because that has a lot to do with it.
Does that matter for wild card?
I don't think so, unless it comes down to if the Bills and the Dolphins were tied. I think one of the tiebreakers would be division records. I think it still does, but I think it takes a backseat to a lot of things when it comes to non-division opponents.
Well, I just wasn't sure if the Chargers had a far worse division record than.
I think they went 3-3 or 4-2. The same with Buffalo.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'll have to look it up. I'll look it up on my gripes.
My gripe, I know I've talked about this before, but it was just the Giants as a whole. The way the whole Eli Manning situation went was just, it was horrible. It was horrible. They had a guy that's played 13 years, never missed a start. They sat him for no reason. It was horrible. Fans are going to be hard-pressed to forgive owners for that.
Yeah, that was tough.
Big fan of the new guy, though. Already canned somebody.
Yeah.
Bobby Hart said he didn't want to play Week 17. He said, get the out of my locker room.
You're out.
That's what they need, though. They need somebody to put their foot in their ass so they're not bitches all the time. That's what the Giants are. A bunch of prima donnas.
So the Bills and the Chargers both finished 3-3 in their respective divisions.
Mm-hmm.
The Bills finished 7-5 in the conference, and the Chargers finished 6-6. So it came down to conference play.
But it's a good
Well, I
point.
want to go back to what I'm saying. You're gonna let your whole locker room be affected by one player.
What do you mean one player? They
Everyone
didn't respect their coach. Their
Eli
coach
Apple
locked
was
the rock
a
book.
cancer to the locker room.
I thought we were talking about the Chargers for a second. I didn't know what he was talking
No,
about.
because the whole entire team hated Eli Apple.
But they also didn't respect McAdoo at all. They didn't want to play for McAdoo, so they didn't play.
So you're getting paid. This is your job, and you can lose your job very quickly. You play. So that means they're prima donnas. They're being bitches toward their team, their fans. I wouldn't want them on my team.
Let's save that. I think you guys would have a good debate.
That's been, I don't mean to chime in on it, but that's been one of my least favorite things that people have ever said. Like, not just you, Kyle, but like anybody, sports analysis, fans, anything like that. I hate when people say like if a player chooses not to play, like, oh, you're shitting on the fans. No, I'm not. I'm not shitting on the fans. It has nothing to do with the fans. It'd be like if you got into a gripe with your boss at work and you didn't show up, and your coworkers were like, you did this to screw us. Like, no, that's not why I did it. I get it did screw you, but that wasn't my reasoning. I've just never been a fan of it.
Bobby Hart's a backup. You're gonna play week 17. You might as well just show up and play.
I get what you're saying. I've never liked he's screwing the fans, and it's like, it's bigger than that. You got to treat it like a corporation when you look at it from that. If you're gonna look at it like a business, you got to treat it like a business, not treat it like a.
So by that, I mean, Kyle, is Bell a prima donna because he held out? He was under contract.
I'm talking about in the locker room.
But it's the same thing.
I'm talking about in the locker room. You're going to affect your own team from one player.
That's one factor.
That was a big factor.
It was one factor. The whole season, they didn't respect McAdoo. The team wasn't winning. It was.
Then what was the excuse after McAdoo left?
By then, the hole was dug.
Doesn't matter.
What do you mean it doesn't matter?
They still didn't play up to their potential. At least their defense.
The hole was dug. They couldn't climb out.
The defense could have played a lot better.
Yeah, but they were also on the field 80% more than they were last year. Take it from somebody who's watched a lot of bad offenses for their favorite team. Real tough to win games. All right, so I'm liking this consistent mock Kyle debate every week.
We're gonna wrestle soon.
Ooh,
mud wrestling.
I would pay to see that. Even though I'd be invited, I'd
refund you. No one wants
to
see that.
Let's go around the horn, kind of kilter a little bit. So, Kendall, give me a player that really impressed you the last quarter of the season.
Last quarter of the season, I was very impressed by Juju Smith-Schuster. When Brown kind of went down, I was like, oh, who's going to step up? I was like, is it going to be Bryant? Is it going to be Vance McDonald? And Smith-Schuster, he, got open, a lot of big plays, versus New England to set up that almost win there. That was huge. And he really, really impressed me.
He is going to be really good for the Steelers. He's going to be a great number 2 for Brown.
You're a great number 2 for me.
I hate you.
I'm going to say Jimmy Garoppolo.
Garoppolo.
Just because I knew Kyle was going to say it. I'll leave Kyle say
Go
it.
ahead.
No, I mean,
it's okay.
No,
So
it was a joke.
He had
Kyle.
this huge speech prepared. I just want to hear it. What do you mean it's gone?
Mine is going to be Nick Foles. Carson Wentz went down week 14. Nick Foles played 3 games, 3 or 4.
3, I think.
3, right?
3.
Yeah. Well, anyway, so in the 3 games, the Eagles weren't really playing for much in the final game. It's kind of similar to like what happened with the Steelers. They were just on the losing side of, rested players or limited snaps, whatever you call it. But he came in, Carson Wentz went down, this, MVP caliber quarterback that's been lighting it up all year long. And I think the breath was sucked out of a lot of fans' chest. And I think a lot of people forgot that, hey, his backup is a guy who threw for a record 7 touchdowns in that uniform, on that field, to a lot less talented receivers. I'm pretty sure Jason Avant was there at that point, so that sums up that.
And that was just a few years ago. That wasn't even that long ago.
But he got the job done in the 2 games that they needed to win to secure first round bye and home field advantage, and he got the job done. I was very impressed with his poise to come in and he did enough. He didn't wow anybody with his numbers. I mean, I think he threw 5 touchdowns and 2 picks, but still, he did enough to get the job done and secure them.
Wasn't afraid to throw the ball and be conservative.
Yeah. So
I hope that Foles coming in and playing well doesn't take away from what Wentz did this season.
I don't think it will,
because Wentz was incredible. He was to me the best quarterback in the league until he got hurt.
This is going to earn me a shot, but I really want to use the analogy. I don't think a lot of people are going to forget that Wentz handmade the cake, even though Foles frosted it. I thought it was a good analogy.
I like that.
Souls.
I'm
You can't say
going,
Jimmy Garoppolo. I already said it.
I'm going with him. Okay?
Go do a shot then.
I don't give a The guy won 4 games for a team that had 2 wins before the last 4 games of the year. Yeah.
It's fine. I knew what you meant. It just made me think.
He scored 44 points against possibly the best defense in football in Jacksonville. He secured the ball. Didn't make a lot of mistakes.
This tastes like a candy, and I can't figure out which candy it is. Kendall, have you had any of this yet?
I had a taste, but I'll have another.
It I don't know. It's got like a fruity candy, and then like it burns like a mother.
He doesn't have good weapons, but he made them work. Imagine what happens if they bring weapons in San Francisco.
They don't need to bring weapons. He's a product of the system that's built entirely around just throw some people out there to catch the football, and then we will make them stars. That's what he's going to do.
Yep.
None of the receivers, with the exception of Randy Moss, were stars before Tom Brady, and then they were stars after.
Oh, Ocho Cinco.
Ocho Cinco was garbage.
He
Chad
got worse
John-
with Tom Brady.
Chad Johnson was a star.
But I mean, like, Wes Welker was average in Miami, and then
he
he
was.
became a star. I mean, Edelman became a star. I mean, he's a product of the system, but he's a star. Gronkowski's a star.
Brandon Cooks.
Brandon Cooks is only in his first year, and Brandon Cooks still had 1,200 yards receiving this year. I mean,
Did he really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Brandon Cooks had a lot of yards
That's
receiving
kind of
this
like
year.
sneaky.
Yeah, he had a lot of yards receiving this year. Just didn't really
Score.
It just wasn't a touchdown threat. But you didn't need him to be. He was exactly what he was for New Orleans. He was the guy that got you from the 20-yard line to the red zone, and then everybody else did the scoring.
Yeah.
And I'm okay. I'd be okay with being that guy. Mark, you got anybody?
My not surprised, but my player for the last quarter was Kareem Hunt. Kind of in the middle of the season, he not died down, but he cooled off after his explosive start.
It tastes like Skittles and a Fireball.
I can't figure it out.
And then, the last few games of the year, he was able to turn it on again. I believe he secured the rushing title for this season.
Yeah, he did.
So, I mean, good for him. He had a great season. I hope he can keep it up. Years.
I'm gonna leave Mock to this one while we go around the horn. We'll make him go last for our players we were disappointed with in the last quarter of the season. So, Mock, I want you to look this up for me. But when was the last time two rookies, or when was the last time we had back-to-back seasons where rookies held the rushing title? Because it was Elliott last year and Hunt this year. Both rookies. And, I mean, I can't think of a recent time that that's happened. Especially when you look at, the past decade and a half, you look at running backs like Adrian Peterson, LaShawn McCoy, in the earlier part of that, LaDainian Tomlinson. These players dominated their position for a very long time. I don't know. No, if it's ever happened, it probably happened in the 60s. So while Mock's checking into that, Kendall, who have you been disappointed with the last 4 games of the season?
Last 4 games of the season, and I'm going to kind of sum it up into a whole for me. But Doug Baldwin, guy coming off of 2 1,000-yard seasons. Granted, he had 900 yards, but just I feel as though he wasn't getting open. He wasn't catching the balls, when given the opportunities, and he kind of played second fiddle to McKissick and did I say that right?
Yeah,
McKissick and the other guy's name's escaping me now.
Mike Davis.
No, I'll have to come back to it. But I mean, to be a number 1 receiver and then not be the guy.
My big thing, I think, the team finally figured out Seattle.
Well, yeah, and I get
they couldn't run the ball, so you might as well play 7 defensive backs.
I will concede to that not having Marshawn in the past 2 years. I mean, it sets up the play action so much. But I mean,
and the offensive line is just so bad,
right? But I mean, if you want to be a number 1 and consider a number 1 receiver, and you're not getting open, and you're not producing, he was disappointing to me.
The other thing with Seattle, their defense wasn't as scary this year as it's always been. The guys are getting older. It happens.
2 of them might be done for their career. Chancellor's
probably done. Who was the other one? Averill. Sherman got hurt. They're just getting old. So, the Legion of Boom isn't as scary as it was, say, 3-4 years ago.
Kendall and I have said it for years, and we've said it before Richard Sherman, and we'll continue to say it after Richard Sherman. The level of dominance for an elite cornerback is very short window. It's if you want to be an elite cornerback, you need to be a Charles Tillman / Champ Bailey type quarterback or cornerback. You need to be somebody who is a pass defense first, man coverage, cover him like a blanket, and not go for interceptions.
The guys who don't have the picks have the long-lasting, successful
Yeah.
careers.
Yeah, I mean, Tillman probably would have played another 4 years if he didn't get riddled with bicep injuries. I mean, the guy tore his bicep twice in 2 years. Ow. But LeChamp Bailey had a long, successful career. I mean, you look at certain players had a shorter. I mean, like the Asante Samuels and stuff like that. Like,
He was a pick machine.
yeah,
I mean,
but how long was his dominance?
3-4 years, really.
Yeah.
I couldn't find the stat.
All right,
You
we'll
are a
look.
disgrace.
Yeah, we'll have to look into it. Souls, you got somebody that you're disappointed in?
Yeah, Cam Newton. He got his number one target back in Greg Olsen, and I feel like his numbers got worse. The Panthers.
Ooh, shot.
Shut up.
Shot.
The Panthers barely can score points. They can barely move the ball up and down the field, even with Greg Olsen. They traded Kelvin Benjamin for no reason because it hurt their team. It just, Cam couldn't complete a pass. He was like, his last few games, he was like 21 for like 63 with like 2 picks and maybe 1 touchdown.
Yeah, the Panthers, they looked like red hot again for a little while and skidded into the playoffs.
I think they were really high up in McCaffrey, producing as a running back. As a receiver, he played well, but I think, hey, this is a guy who would take a load off Stewart, McCaffrey, but I'd love to know what his rushing yards at the end of the year was.
He didn't have much.
500 yards, 400
Not even.
yards.
No, I think tons of backups had more. I think Russell Wilson had more than him. Cam Newton had more than him. Tariq Cohen from the Bears had more than him.
Yeah, and what a disappointment. That's a guy to be disappointed in.
Well, he was
McCaffrey.
like they wanted him to be the catching back so they could, make Cam not throw the ball 100 yards every time.
Well,
That's I think to kind of go with what you're both saying. I think going forward, McCaffrey's going to have more of a rushing role. This season, he had it, but they still had Stewart, and Stewart played decently. He wasn't great, but McCaffrey, I think, going forward will have more of that lead back role as he matures into it.
He had 435 rushing yards, but he had 80 receptions,
which is
good. But I mean, the other thing too is he averaged 8 yards per reception, but I mean, 80 receptions for only 600 yards. I mean,
yeah,
it's kind of also like not that impressive in my eyes. I mean, especially when you consider the amount of screens, the amount of slants over the middle.
Yeah, he's not going down the field and
right,
running those
exactly.
in.
Like this isn't he's not. I mean, he probably did catch a. I didn't watch a lot of Panthers games this year, but I'm sure he had some 40, 50-yard receptions lining outside.
He had a lot of like 2 or 3 yards.
Right, but
He turned into, yeah.
But I don't know. So yeah, I guess I'll go because I promised Mock you'd go last. Mine is Kirk Cousins. Kendall, hit him with the woo-wee.
Ooh wee!
So yeah, Kirk Cousins pretty much. I mean, I know it kind of ended for them pretty early on. They couldn't really get it going, but he played in a pretty abysmal last 4 games. He eclipsed the 200-yard mark once, and he went 6-5 for touchdowns to pick ratio.
I think he gave up.
Either way, it's disappointing, including 150 yards and 3 picks to the Giants in the last game of the season. Which, I mean, I know the game didn't mean anything to either team, but still.
It still has to mean something to Cousins because he's playing for a contract.
Yeah.
So, I mean, whether they were in the playoff hunt or not, he was looking for his next deal.
Yeah, and there's plenty of teams that were on the cusp that are looking for a quarterback. I mean, or, made it or on the cusp. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised to see Jacksonville looking for a quarterback. Buffalo's probably going to be looking for a quarterback. Denver. Arizona will be now. All kinds of teams.
My disappointing player.
I think Fitzgerald will play as long as he has a white quarterback. I do. That's my guess. As long as a white quarterback is signed there, I think he'll play.
My disappointing player is going to be Dak Prescott. He was playing pretty well. Zeke left. He looked horrible for the 6 games. He just did not look good. And the hype was Zeke's coming back. They're still going to make that playoff push, and he still looked bad. I think he's kind of not to say he's going to stay bad, but he didn't look at all this season like he did last year.
Elliott's his crutch, perhaps.
That's it. He to me, he's almost like Alex Smith. He's a game manager.
Well,
he doesn't turn the ball over.
I think Dak Prescott and the Cowboys won't see postseason success until they get rid of Des Bryant.
I agree.
I don't think it has anything. I think Des Bryant is a top tier receiver. I know Mike Mock does not think that. I think Des Bryant is a top-tier receiver, but he's not playing in the right system. He thrived under a quarterback like Tony Romo, but Dak Prescott's not the quarterback for him.
That's fair.
Dez is dominant to me, at least from what I see in the red zone. Between the 20s, I don't think he's that good. In the red zone, because he's big and physical. He bullies people in the red zone, and he gets touchdowns.
I mean, I don't know. I think he's like an Alshon Jeffrey. He's, like you said, he's a big and physical. He's the guy. He's not the guy that, like the Cowboys like to do, because Dak Prescott doesn't take the deep shots as often or throw in between the hashes that much. He's the guy that you throw the ball up in the air for and you let him go get it. You just throw it up and you make him go get it. Whether it's a 10-yard pass, a 60-yard pass, or a red zone shot, any of them. That's much like what Alshon Jeffrey is. He's the guy you throw the ball up in the air and you tell him to go get it, and you trust he's going to come down with it. And that's not what Dak Prescott and Ezekiel Elliott bring to the table for them. He needs to go to a team like, I think he would be absolutely fantastic in a Carolina Panthers offense. I think he'd be really good because he's a good run blocker. He's a great leader. And if you put him out there, you give him like the Funchess guy type of receiver that can run the deep route or slant across the middle. And then you have Greg Olsen, who's the possession/yard eater down the field. You got McCaffrey for dump-off options, and now you got Des Bryant. You tell him to go run those routes where he's going to have to go up and get the ball, and I think he'd be successful.
And that's something we might see next year. Des might not be back in Dallas next year. He might be a cap casualty type deal.
So we'll sum it up with that. Disappointing and all that stuff. Now we're not. We talked about some before the show, doing some award predictions. Anybody have any predictions they'd like to make?
Do you want to do MVP?
Sure, we'll do MVP.
So mine is going to be not exciting, and I'm a big bummer on this, but it's Tom Brady.
Boo!
I'm booing as well, but the thing is, it's just he always has a good year. I have his stats up actually for you. He's got 32 touchdowns and 8 picks. I don't know how many yards he threw for, but
enough to lead the league.
Enough to lead the league at 40 years old. And unfortunately with Wentz,
oldest player to ever lead the league in passing yards.
Yes, with Wentz going down, with Watson going down, guys who are poised to kind of have amazing numbers, I feel as though he just stole the show. So it's a bummer, but he'll win the MVP, I feel.
See, the MVP award, I know we've said this on the show. I hate that it's just a stat-driven award because it shouldn't be. For me, Todd Gurley is this year's MVP. You look at what the Rams were last year and him playing as well as he is this year, I think elevated Goff, the rest of the offense, the defense came together. I think Gurley single-handedly turned that team around.
He also had the stats for it, though.
He does. He has great numbers.
Over 1,300 yards, 13 rushing touchdowns.
Over 2,000 yards total, yards from scrimmage.
788 receiving yards and 6 receiving touchdowns.
We talked about this with the NBA show, though, and other shows we've done, though. It won't matter. That's how the entire sports world is. It's just driven by numbers and stuff. That's why, like the NHL, I've always liked that because they have a trophy for the person who amassed the best stats, the best point total. They have a trophy for the most goals, and then they have the MVP trophy. Which you don't have to rely on the stats because you've already given a trophy to the guy who scored the most points. Right. That's noted. That has been put in the record books. It's put to bed now. We know that, blah, blah, blah from Canada, most likely, scored the most goals or assisted the most, points this season. Now let's look at the guy who actually made an impact for their team. Yeah. Kyle, you have someone, or is yours Todd Gurley as well?
Yeah, Todd Gurley.
That's fair. So we did.
Is that another shot because he's repeating people?
Yeah.
No, I just don't get to go first.
All right, well, Kyle, fine. We'll let you start off with Defensive Player of the Year.
All right.
Okay.
You gonna say yours?
No, I just told you to go first.
No, for MVP.
Oh, I still think it's Carson Wentz.
Okay. My Defensive Player of the Year is Calais Campbell.
See, that's what I was thinking. You have to take a shot. You repeated what I said in my head.
Nope. 87 total tackles, 14.5 sacks, and 3 forced fumbles. Got to the quarterback a lot. He made the secondary look better because he was able to pressure the quarterback. They weren't out there covering for 10 seconds. He was a monster in the middle. Stopped the run all the time. Big part of why the Jaguars defense looked that good.
It's hard to argue with. I mean, the guy played great all season. And Jacksonville, their defense this year stepped up. They looked great.
You have anybody then, Mark, or is that who you're going with?
I'm going to say Aaron Donald from the LA Rams. I I believe last year he kind of had like a down season last year, didn't he?
Down for him, but it's still.
That's what I mean. Still good, but like it was kind of down. He held out the whole preseason, started slow, and now
He
just
missed the first game.
is that what he missed week 1, came out and has just been a force on the defensive line for them. He's been great. That's my defensive player of the year.
Kendall?
So from Tennessee, Kevin Byard, not really turning a lot of heads. He tied Slay with the leader in picks with 8, which is kind of middle of the pack. He had 87 tackles. But for a guy, the Titans defense not really turning any heads, kind of middle of the pack defense. I think it was a bright spot and, provided, turnovers for that team. And that's kind of why they're in the playoffs, whether they deserve it or not. So those stats are not amazing. I think he's impactful and, perhaps deserving of consideration.
Paul?
Mine's DeMarcus Lawrence from the Cowboys. He had a pretty fantastic year. Without him, the Cowboys don't win 9 games this season because the offense at times failed to score points, and their secondary was a disaster for more than most of the season. Throughout, as the season progressed, their young guys and their young DBs stepped up and started playing better. But I mean, Lawrence recorded 14.5 sacks. He only had 58 tackles, but I mean, as a defensive end, you're not really going to be the guy that's recording 100 tackles in a season. But I mean, he had a couple pass deflections, he forced 4 fumbles, and he had 14.5 sacks. And I mean, anytime a Cowboys game was on, he was an absolute menace in the backfield. I mean, I don't have stats for, this is always not a hard stat to find, but one that doesn't really like list it as commonly. You have to actually go look for it. But the thing too is, I wouldn't be surprised to see his name in the top 3 for quarterback hurries, quarterback knockdowns, pocket presence, things like that. Offensive linemen.
It's unfortunate because it's like sacks and that's it.
And he was a complete disruptive force the whole time. Whereas a lot of these players that tend to finish in the top of the sack category are the guys that they either are being blocked the entire time or they get there.
Right.
It's much like, that's how Von Miller kind of was this season. Von Miller either got to the quarterback or he was nowhere close. But, I feel like DeMarcus Lawrence was pretty much always within arm's length of the quarterback at all times. What about some Roy? Some Rookie of the Year?
For me, it's Alvin Kamara from the Saints.
What? No, that's good.
I mean, this guy came out of nowhere. I think he finished the season with over 1,000 yards rushing and receiving.
No,
he had to have been close. I can't remember.
He only
the
had
number.
1,500 all-purpose yards.
Oh,
or So he and Mark Ingram were the only duo to running back duo to finish with 1,500
That's
total
what I'm
yards from
thinking.
scrimmage.
All-purpose yards is very deceiving.
He might have had 807.
Well, no yards from all-purpose yards. He might have had 2,000, but that's because that's kickoff and punt returns.
Punt, exactly.
Scrimmage yards, he wasn't close. I don't think he was close to 2,000. I think he hit 15, 84 or something.
But I mean, even still, you look at what he did this season. Him and Ingram. I mean, there was no pressure for Breeze to go out and have to throw 40 passes a game. And
it pissed me off.
Breeze didn't need to go out and get 5,000 passing yards this year. They had 2 backs that were killing it. Kamara looked great.
You know what angers me? If you look at a lot of the MVP races, they have Kamara in the top 10, and Mark Ingram isn't even close. Mark Ingram. I said Melvin Ingram. Mark Ingram isn't even close. That's horseshit. Because Kamara really did his damage on kind of late game long run breakoffs
and second down
and receptions. But Ingram,
he was doing the dirty work.
He was a consistent 4.5 yards a carry type of guy. When you have a running back who's averaging 4.5 yards a carry, you don't have to throw the ball.
That's what I mean. There was no pressure for Breeze this season to put the game on his back and go out and have to sling the ball like he's had to in the past, which to me makes the Saints scary going into the playoffs because Breeze can turn that on at any point. If he decides, I need to throw, that's it. He's going to throw all over you.
Kyle, would you like to go next, or do you want me to give it to Kendall?
I'd like to go. I feel like he has the same one. Mine's Kareem Hunt.
No, it's not mine.
Well,
no?
Then I'll go next, because I might have it. Go ahead.
All right, so I have Kareem Hunt had 1,300 yards rushing and 8 touchdowns. Every time Kareem Hunt had a big game, the Chiefs won. And every time he didn't, the Chiefs lost. So obviously he was a big reason for that team. He's basically the X factor, and if he was on, the team did pretty well.
And I tell you, if they didn't change up their play calling so much, he probably would have had over 1,600 yards. In the middle of the season, I think he had 2 or 3 games where he would get less than 10 carries. And they lost those games. One of them was against the Giants. I think he had 9 carries. It was horrible.
Well, because him running the ball was able to open up the field for Tyreek Hill, and they just stopped. They just wanted to throw.
Yeah, I don't know. They shied away from him for a while, and I don't know if they were trying to cut down his carries because he was getting a lot. Early on, he was getting a lot of touches. So I don't know if they're just trying to limit him, but they started losing games.
And then they gave him the ball back, and they started winning again.
Yeah, true. Kendall?
Mine, it's a bias. Juju Smith-Schuster.
Boo.
So I'm looking at this, and it's actually a battle between. I have to look at the stats. So it might be a correction, but it had Cooper Kupp actually listed as the leader. Cooper Kupp, fun name to say, Cooper Kupp. But here I found on a different list Smith-Schuster as the leader with 917 yards and 7 touchdowns.
Wow, 7 touchdowns
versus Kupp's 5 touchdowns.
Receiving touchdowns or all-purpose touchdowns?
It might be all-purpose touchdowns, and that's what I'm getting confused with. But be that as it may, I don't think Cooper Kupp has any rushing touchdowns. So I give it to Smith-Schuster as a Steelers bias.
He's good at blocking, too.
That's right. Juju, he's going to be really good for the Steelers.
I hope so. Knock on wood, the wood located in GDH Woodworking
And he's
Studio.
only 20.
He rides a bike.
Not anymore. He got his license.
This is the perfect place, this studio, to do like no jinxes or whatever. He's got wood,
Just wood everywhere.
The wood sitting right next to me looks like it came from a ship that they picked up off the ocean floor.
They did. That's driftwood. Paul, do you have one?
Yeah, mine's not going to be popular and it's not going to be right, but I'm still going to say it anyway. And I don't give a. It's Ryan Ramczyk. Yeah, you guys are all looking at me.
All right.
Offensive lineman for the Saints.
Yeah, you didn't know that, Kyle.
You're right.
I know.
He had it written on
Out
his
of
forearm.
Wisconsin.
He didn't know. He only knew that because he was looking up Rookie of the Year candidates before we did the show.
No, I didn't.
Yeah, you did. Don't lie to me, Kyle.
I was going to be Kareem Hunt the entire time.
That's not what I said. I said that you only knew the name because you were
I only
looking.
looked up Kareem Hunt's stats.
No, you didn't. And I don't want to look through your history because there's some gross things about busty foot on there or something.
That'd be hot.
But
Busty Foot 2K18.
Kamara's not even isn't in discussions at all if it's not for Ramczyk in the offensive line. I mean, I know it's the offensive line as a whole, but Ramczyk really came in and really cemented his ground immediately and did great in pass protection, did great in screens, did well in run blocking, the whole 9 yards, did fantastic. Now, is the whole 9 yards a phrase that's frowned upon in the NFL because you need 10 yards for a first down?
No, but it's funny that you mentioned that. That's actually a World War I reference. I'd go into it further, but I don't know more about it other than that.
Okay, that's fair, I guess.
We'll save it.
You know what kind of bugs me, though, about the Rookie of the Year? And I mean, I know it's all, you can't predict the way the NFL season goes or whatever. Kamara wouldn't even be close if Deshaun Watson played the whole season.
It's funny you say that because I was just going to bring that point up that if Deshaun played the whole season, he probably would have ran away with it.
He still had 19 touchdowns.
Yeah, if Deshaun Watson played the whole season, we'd be talking about him in the MVP candidacy.
Oh, absolutely. He was killing it. Even Fournette.
If he played the whole season, we would have been talking about the Texans in the wild card instead of the Bills.
Oh, yeah.
No offense, Kendall.
None taken.
He also loves the Texans.
Yeah, I know.
But I mean, if Watson played the whole season, they could have won that division.
Okay.
True.
All right, so let's do we'll do the OPOY, the Offensive Player of the Year award. Kyle Souls, who do you got?
I'm giving it to Todd Gurley.
Can't.
I did.
You gave MVP to him.
Doesn't matter.
Yes, it does. They don't give MVP and Offensive Player of the Year to the same person.
When?
Find me a time they did.
Well, while he's doing that, I'm gonna go.
Okay.
Since Todd Gurley is the MVP, my Offensive Player of the Year is going to be Le'Veon Bell.
It's fair.
He had a great season. I don't have his numbers in front of me, but racked up yards, had a lot of touchdowns. He played great. Big factor for why the Steelers win as many games as they do.
I hate to be this guy. Souls, you want to go?
No, go ahead.
No, he's still looking.
I hate to be this guy. I'm never this guy. But I'm going to just pump up the Steelers more. Antonio Brown finished as the receiving yards leader.
You're a real homer today, aren't you?
Big time. Well, it's tough.
The Souls effect.
It's tough, yeah. I'm stuck in the Solziolis effect here in the room.
Solziolis, huh? You can go ahead and slide this over to you.
But a shout out to the Sociolis effect. It kind of falls on everyone. But it just, a team offensively that was so successful in the half portion of the season. And it's a big product of, Ben targeting him, big time. But, a big portion of touchdowns and points and, a big threat on the field. So, Brown. I don't know. Homer, Simpson, whatever you want to call it.
There you go. Take that shot. Kyle, you ready?
Is it Jimmy Garoppolo? Is that what you want to say?
I'm not saying it's never happened. I'm just asking Kyle to prove me. That's all.
Well, doesn't mean it can't happen.
Just pick a different person.
Or would you like to go
first, Paul?
So it's funny. I'm almost going to go against myself here with the argument for Kyle. I want to say Carson Wentz only because I know he's not going to win MVP. I do feel it's going to be Tom Brady. I think Carson Wentz deserves it.
I agree.
More than anybody else in the NFL. But because I say Carson Wentz for MVP, I'll say Tom Brady for Offensive Player of the Year.
Gross.
He still led the league in passing. He still threw, a reputable amount of touchdowns.
He's going to get one of the awards.
Yeah, he's going to get one of the awards. Even if it's Hottest Wife Award.
Come on, Brooke Decker.
You don't think Giselle's hot?
Nah.
Is it because she's dating or married to
No.
Tom Brady?
It's not.
I think it is.
It's not.
I think it is.
It's not.
So why don't you think
Smoke
she's hot?
show.
We're changing the show. This is not about the NFL anymore. You think Giselle's ugly?
I didn't say she's
So
ugly.
you think she's average looking?
Yeah.
For a second, imagine a podcast where we just analyze players' wives.
Tune in next week.
Yeah, there is a thing called that. It's called BET.
All right, Kyle.
Take
You're
it
out of
down,
time. What do you
BET.
got?
So I'm going to change it. Not going to be pretty. I'm going with Case Keenum.
Oh, gross.
He was very good for the Vikings. 12-4. Had 22 touchdowns to 7 picks. 3,000 yards.
13-3.
What?
Did they finish 13-3?
No,
Shot?
they did. Because the Eagles went 13-3. They went 12-4.
I think they both went 13-3. I'm pretty sure every team that got a bye went 13-3.
Look it up. Oh, shot. Shot.
I think every team that got a bye went 13-3. It's either going to be 3 shots or 1 shot. Dun, 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 dun. That's what we thought.
They should have went 12-4.
Oh, okay. Oh, my bad.
Just like LeGarrette Blunt should have went to
They
Detroit.
should have. That team would have benefited greatly from him. Tell me I'm wrong.
You're wrong.
Well, I mean,
They would have done way better with him.
Now, can I actually? I gotta pull it up real quick. But
Pull it out.
Case Keenum deserves love.
I like
And he'll
Case
get it
Keenum.
from his left and right hand.
He's got a wife, girlfriend. I don't know.
Kyle, to dial back really quick, was it you who wrote the note for last week's show for Maurice Moses?
Whatever. Who gives a shit? He's never gonna be a player to be named again.
I think that's another shot because that's not his name.
Yeah, but you don't have to like bring Kyle home. Make it a baby shot, Souls.
I'm gonna call you out every time.
You
Next
like
time
to
you bring
do
up the
this.
Giants, Yankees, you're taking a shot. That's all you reference. So you better be real careful, bitch.
Welcome to our sub podcast, the Maxine Soulsable Show.
All about
Wait till you
spiting one another.
Wait till you bring up the Giants or Yankees.
So, it was brought to my attention that since the season's over, it would be interesting to recap on an article posted by the Getting Sports with Drunk crew, myself specifically, the sophomore star or slump article that I posted, or that I believe Maxine actually posted it. But so we'll kind of go through that really quickly, just to kind of recap on it, see how it turned out. So I don't think it's gonna be very pretty, but we'll see what happens. So we started off with the phone's not reacting very well to this. Started off with Carson Wentz. I predicted that he would be a star. I personally believe I was correct.
I agree.
I agree.
Agreed.
Excellent.
Gets better as it goes.
All right, this one's gonna be fun. I like this one a lot. Dak Prescott, predicted star status. Souls?
He wasn't a star, but he wasn't a bust.
You got to pick one or the other.
Gotta pick star or slump.
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 I disagree. And it's not because I said it, not because I predicted it, because yes, while he didn't play as great as he did the year before in terms of like ball security, he still finished the year north of 3,000 yards. He still threw over 20 touchdowns. Yes, he threw more interceptions, but you have to keep in mind You're looking at a team that really, after Elliott went down, it's pretty much just him because the defense was not playing that well, with the exceptions of DeMarcus Lawrence. He still managed to rush for over 350 yards and 6 touchdowns. So he wasn't a star in terms of just quarterback skill, but, I mean, Russell Wilson and Cam Newton necessarily don't always have star years, but they do because of their rushing. I still think he had a star performance.
Stat-wise, I mean, that looking at the stats, that doesn't sound bad. But I know, like, I watched quite a bit of Cowboys games this year. He didn't look as sharp as he did last year. Like, he wasn't making
agree with
throws. His stats, yeah, he finished with a good stat line.
I agree with you, but because we're only allowed to pick one, I'm going to pick star over slump.
Fair enough.
I think he was above average, and above average weighs more towards star than it does slump, in my opinion. All right, number 3, Hunter Henry.
Star.
I believe the Riddler starts with what he has to say first.
Yeah, I predicted slump season. Souls.
Star.
Star.
Slump.
Slump. I also say slump. 45 receptions for 570 yards, 4 touchdowns. On a team that was hucking the ball pretty good.
As a partial fantasy owner of Hunter Henry, I am very versed in his disappointment.
But the thing was, all their weapons stayed healthy.
That,
so he wasn't.
And he got hurt.
So who cares if everyone was healthy? Then if he was being as successful as he was last year, then he'd be a part of that success.
We gotta understand, when Keenan Allen's on the field, Phillip Rivers only throws to him.
That's not true, though. Because Keenan Allen has been healthy before, and Antonio Gates was still the reception eater. Phillip Rivers loves the tight end position, much like Tom Brady does. It doesn't. Keenan Allen, yes, healthy Keenan Allen makes a huge difference, but it's been proven for years that Phillip Rivers, regardless of who is playing at the wide receiver position, loves to throw to the tight end. And he highlighted Hunter Henry a lot last year.
Not really. He had better stats this year than he did last year.
Let's see. Would you care to wager a shot on that?
Sure, I've been taking them all night. Might as well keep going.
That's fine. So 579 yards, 4 touchdowns. Last year he finished with 478 yards and 8 touchdowns. The shot is yours.
He had more yards.
He had twice as many touchdowns.
So, because Allen was healthy, Terrell Williams was healthy.
Okay, so as a fantasy owner, let me ask you, would you prefer a guy to have 100 more yards or 4 more touchdowns?
Honestly, in the tight end, it doesn't really even matter.
It does, because
What
your
do
tight
you
end scores
mean?
touchdowns.
What does it mean? Tight ends usually don't give you much, except if you're Gronk or Gronk.
That's not true either. I mean,
Yeah. Name me 2 other good tight ends.
Travis Kelce.
Travis Kelce,
Okay.
and even Jim Graham.
Greg
Jim
Olsen,
Graham. Yeah, but Greg Olsen was hurt all
but
year.
it's still a good tight
Jim
end.
Graham hasn't been the same since he went to New Orleans, so he's been pretty much a bust.
He went to
I-
Seattle.
Yeah, and Jim Graham also had...
I said from New Orleans. Okay,
and
relax.
Jim Graham
Jim Graham
also had a pretty inordinate amount of touchdowns this year.
He did.
For like 400 yards.
Okay.
There were 7 or 8 weeks where he had nothing. He gave you like 2 or 3 points.
Okay, I understand that, but his numbers aren't better than last year's because he had 100 more yards. He had 7 more receptions than he did last year for 100 more yards and 4 less
And
touchdowns.
the big reason because all the receivers were healthy and Melvin Gordon was very good.
But Melvin Gordon got hurt.
Not for a long period of time this year.
No, but he was hurt on and off, and none of their receivers are really big end zone threats.
He still targeted Keenan Allen all the time in the end zone.
Okay, so let me get this straight. Your argument is because the receivers were healthy, Hunter Henry was a star.
No, I'm saying that Hunter Henry still had a star year, more than a slump year. He took bigger strides. I'm not like he was better in blocking.
I think if he didn't get hurt, he would have had more of a.
But he still
star
played
year.
14 games. So I mean, that's the Melvin Gordon debate. I mean, Melvin Gordon probably.
Yeah, but like the tight end position, you have to block.
I understand that, but
Yeah, but like the reason why the running game was so good, was better in Los Angeles this year, was because he was blocking.
okay, Kyle. We'll just go with what you say. What, we can't agree to disagree?
It's fine.
Robert Kelly, slump performance was my prediction.
Slump.
Slump.
So
I don't think I even heard his name this year. Played 7 games.
He was hurt and didn't really put up the numbers.
Played 7 games, 3 touchdowns for less than 200 yards on the season. I mean, injury sucks, but I don't think he would have been a star even if he played 16 games.
I think we determined that Thompson, if he didn't get hurt, he seemed like he was the guy.
Yeah, he was looking good.
He was more the receiving back than the running back.
Well, that's fair, but regardless.
All right, Jordan Howard, prediction star.
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 I agree. Bias. Number 6, Michael Thomas, prediction slump. Star.
Star.
I thought he was going to suffer a lot with the absence of Brandon Cooks and playing in a much more competitively defensive
And
division. And
it was kind of surprising because Breeze didn't throw as much as he normally did this year.
yeah, pretty much just threw to him.
And Thomas still looked good.
Yeah. Joey Bosa, prediction star.
Star.
All right. Eli Apple, quarterback, prediction star.
Slump.
Number 9, Kanu Neal, prediction slump.
Wait, who?
Keanu Neal. Safety
Keanu
from
Neal,
the
safety
Falcons.
from the Falcons, yeah.
I don't even know.
I'm gonna
Irrelevant.
say Star.
I'm going to say star as well.
I'm
He had
sorry.
83 tackles, 6 pass deflections, and a pick as a safety.
Star, I guess. I mean, that's
82 tackles is a lot.
It's
I mean,
decent as a
granted,
safety.
Granted, a safety usually has a higher number for, you got to consider pretty much almost any pass more than 5 yards, the safety is
Yeah.
a viable option for the tackler. And any run that gets outside of the offensive line is a safety's.
I would say star as well.
Yeah, I think so. And then last but not least, with the star prediction, Jalen Ramsey. Star.
Mega star.
Star.
Yeah, he's good.
Yeah.
I think
Like
he's
said, it
very
was
good,
as bad
very
as I
good.
thought. All right, so we're kind of running out of time here. So we'll wrap up the show. But real quick, we're not going to go into the depths of the postseason at all, like predictions or whatnot, other than our our end of the year Super Bowl predictions. So, Souls, who's going to the Super Bowl?
Steelers, Vikings.
Who's winning?
Steelers.
Okay, Mock.
Rams, Jags. Rams win.
All right.
Patriots, Eagles. Eagles get it done, but Patriots win.
What?
Oh, what I meant was with the backup quarterback, they make it to the Super Bowl, but Patriots win.
I'm gonna say Patriots, Vikings. Patriots win. And then I was informed we did have another segment that Souls had prepared. Souls wanted to do a coach segment, so we'll let him do his coach rants.
Well, do you guys want to all participate or?
Well, it's too late. We already talked about it. We're doing
Pose a question, Kyle. What do you got?
Well, I was just saying, like, a bunch of coaches got fired already. Who do you think's going to go where? Like, Chicago Bears. They want a quarterback guru of a coach to help Mitch Trubisky. So I think Josh McDaniels ends up in Chicago.
See, McDaniels is an odd thing because he's kind of set up to take over the Patriots whenever Belichick decides to go. So I mean, does he kind of hold out for that?
So McDaniels already gave it a shot in Denver, had limited success, but I don't know.
I think the Bears shop for head coaching outside of experienced NFL coaches.
Like David Shaw from Stanford?
I don't know who, but I just think they shop outside. The last time they shopped outside of the NFL for a head coach, it was terrible for the team as a whole, but in terms of offensive production, it's what they were looking for. And if that's the route they want to go, I think that they look to keep a very strong-minded defensive coordinator and find a coach that's going to be an offensive-minded player. The Bears have not really been an offensive-minded team in an offensive era of football against a very offensive-minded division, so it might be time for them.
Yeah.
I personally think they should go after Matt Patricia. But
Real quick, I know we have a limited amount of time, but I agree with that, Paul. Bears always been successful with a defensive-minded head coach. And it's an interesting thing you just said there. Is I didn't really think that Patricia was even considered as a head coach. I remember Souls and I talked about it, and I was surprised when he said it.
I think it's like what Mock said with the Mike Daniels thing. I think it's just either of them are poised to be the head coach of the Patriots when Belichick decides to go out. And even if they don't want the job, they got a pretty good gig going in New England winning football games.
Yeah.
As long as Tom Brady's taking the snap, they're winning football games.
Yeah.
So I don't think either of them leave, but I think if they wanted to find success again in Chicago Bears football, I think they should look after.
They'd break the streak because the one knock on Bill Belichick as a head coach is that none of his disciples have had success outside of football anywhere.
Outside of the Patriots, you mean?
Outside the Patriots. I don't know what I just said.
Said outside of football.
Yeah, that's a weird thing to say.
Patricia's
Outside of the
got a
Patriots,
pretty mean beard.
outside of the Patriots, no coach under his tutelage has ever had success.
Where do you think Del Rio goes?
I think he's a coordinator somewhere.
Agreed.
I think he'll be a head coach. I don't know where, but I don't blame him for the bad season. It was a down year for Carr. He was battling injuries, and he really only got fired so the Raiders can bring in Gruden. If Gruden was on the table, Del Rio doesn't get fired.
He's got to be coming back. They wouldn't have fired
So
him.
you're
if
an
he wasn't.
NFL conspiracist?
Well, Gruden said too, like when they asked him about the rumors of him coaching the Raiders next season, he said the chances are high.
And he also said he wants full control.
I think Jock Del Rio becomes the next head coach of the Detroit Lions.
That's why I think Patricia goes.
Why?
Jim Bob Cooter was in New England. He's just going to bring him. He's going to bring him over.
I mean, I guess I see that reasoning, but I don't know. I don't see the Lions going defensive minded head coach ever.
I have a question for you guys.
Mhm.
Of the teams that fired coaches, which team is the most attractive offer
The
for a
Raiders.
coach to come into?
Probably the Raiders, young offense. A lot of promise with Carr and Cooper and all that.
They just had a bad year. I think they
Giants.
bounced back.
Your Giants?
I think the Giants because the Giants they still have Marshall inked up. They they have Odell Beckham Jr. They've got Shepard. They've got Ingram.
Very promising
They've got a
offense.
star-studded. And Darkwa has looked good as the season kind of went on. The offense is there very much so, and the defense. They were on the field a lot. They didn't play up to par this year, but that doesn't mean that they won't bounce back. They've got the right pieces. So
I think the Giants.
I mean, the Giants' overall roster is not going to change enough to the point where they're, that you can say that they're not a playoff contention, if not Super Bowl contending team. They were in the beginning of the season when everybody was healthy. There's no reason to say that they shouldn't. I mean, everybody got injured. You can't say that that's the reason that they're not going to be a playoff contending team next year. Yeah, of course, the Eagles are probably going to be good again, but that doesn't mean that you can't have something like what happened in the NFC South. You got 3 teams just running table in the NFC pretty much.
I think the Giants are an interesting team, but I also think the Bears. The Bears defense kind of surprised a lot of people this year. They're young. You have Trubisky who's young. Howard looks good. Cohen looks good. I mean, for someone to come in, that's kind of an attractive team. It's a historic team. That's a good job to have. I think that's going to attract coaching prospects in there.
Another team would be the Colts. You get Andrew Luck coming back.
See, Luck is such a question mark.
With the right coach, I think they could do it.
What I mean is, you don't know what you're getting with him. He's so good. He's beyond talented.
Yeah.
But he's always got some freak injury. You just don't know what you're getting
Well,
with him.
Pagano never built the offensive line.
That is a good point. He got hit a lot.
And then back to the Giants, though. Who do you think will be the next head coach?
I have no idea. I just hope so bad that it's not a defensive-minded coach.
I'd like to revisit this after the season's done because I feel like during this span of time, positions are not exactly filled. I mean, sometimes they are, but I don't think everything will be filled.
See, I disagree with you, Mark. I think the Giants need a good defensive-minded coach. Not like I understand what McAdoo did and everything like that, but he was a more defensive-minded coach, if you will, that tried to take the reins on offense and failed miserably at it. I don't think he was really good at either side of the ball, but I think I think the Giants need the defensive-minded coach, much like the Bears do. I think they need a coach that's going to come out and you got this young defense that's got all the right pieces right now. It's just a matter of putting them in the right spots at the right time and doing the right play calling, and then you get a decent to good offensive play caller because you guys don't need an elite offensive person calling the plays. You've got 2-time Super Bowl winning Eli Manning taking the snap, and then you've got 4 receivers that are more than able to get 1,000 yards a season. I think that the Giants could very well have 3, if not 4,000-yard receivers next year.
My reasoning for that is I think Spagnuolo is one of the best coordinators in the NFL. He's a great defensive coordinator. He was a horrible head coach.
I think they should promote him to head coach with the Giants.
I would leave him as a coordinator. I see the Giants drafting a young quarterback. I would like to have almost like what Philly did. They brought in an offensive-minded coach with a young quarterback coach to work with Wentz. It's working. Kind of mimic that thing, groom a quarterback, and then you set up the next, not to say you set up the next Eli Manning, but you set up, for the future versus you already have someone good
The only
calling the
thing,
defensive
though,
plays.
if they do go offensive minded, I think they go through the college.
which is fine.
But
that's fine.
the guy from Stanford who worked with the Giants is going to either pick Rosen or Darnold.
Oh, please don't pick Sam Darnold.
And it's going to be one of those two. And both of them didn't win in college.
All right. Well, we'll come back to it in a later show. One last one. Where does John Fox go?
I think
Just retire. I don't know.
I think Fox is not done, but I think Fox takes a year off.
Okay.
I think he's just gonna kind of go away. I don't know who's gonna want to bring him in.
So
I think he could be a coordinator.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say the team because you might hit me.
what? Lions, Packers.
Yeah. They just fired Dom Capers.
I'd like to see Dom Capers coach the Bears. That'd be cool.
Maybe.
I see John Fox becoming the defensive coordinator for the New England Patriots after Patricia accepts a job elsewhere.
He'd have to start growing a beard.
You could grow and just be
nice
gray.
and white.
All right. So I know we've pushed our time limit, but I have one more thing. It'll be really quick. No explanations. We got the wild card weekend coming up. No predictions or anything like that. But what wild card matchup is most intriguing to you?
Buffalo, Jacksonville. Buffalo, see if they have some fight in them.
I agree with Kendall. Buffalo's going to be fun to watch in the playoffs. Hopefully McCoy can go, but it's going to be fun just to watch them get in there.
I'm going to go with New Orleans, Carolina.
Agreed. I don't think it really mattered which team had home field advantage. I think it's just going to be a slug out.
And I think one of those two teams make the Super Bowl. Besides, I said the Vikings. Hear me out. I said the Vikings. No, hear me out.
All right, fine. Just say what you want to say.
I said the Vikings because I want them in.
Okay, all right, fair.
But the Panthers and the Saints had the most experienced quarterback in the postseason.
No, that's fair. It
was just funny.
Yeah,
I want the Vikings in there. That's
okay,
why I said
that's fine. It just you build up something like, but actually.
So I believe Machine Washable has some things he'd like to share with the world.
Yes. Be sure to listen to our friend Peter Pino over at the PPRN Radio Network. His own show every Tuesday and Wednesday nights from 7:30 to 10:30. Download the PPRN app or listen on the PPRN Radio Network's website. And be sure to find us on Facebook and Instagram at Getting Sports with Drunk. And Twitter is GSWD_4.
Make sure to use the hashtag GSWD for all your daily uses, whether it's doing disgusting shots or contradicting yourself later.
Find us on Podbean and iTunes. And we're on the Leeb Sports Network every morning from 7 to 8 a.m. and every Sunday from 12 to 1 p.m. on the PPRN Radio Network.
Be sure to be on the lookout for our special edition show that should be coming out in, we'll call it a week and a half's time. We'll be doing a show from local Black Hog Brewery in Oxford, Connecticut,
Yes.
I believe.
Yep.
Delicious beers. If you're from the area and you haven't had them, highly recommend it. Beer reviews.
I had the Heady Topper from The Alchemist in Vermont. I don't think I've ever had it before. I think you guys have had it.
Really?
I don't think I've ever had it. Enjoyed it immensely.
Happy to bust your cherry on that one.
Yeah, it's an ale, 8%.
You had the other one that they have. I can't remember the
The
name of
Focal
it.
Banger?
Yeah, that one.
Yeah, very good. I like drink from the can. I wouldn't want to have it any other way. So recommend it highly.
That's like a consistently highest rated IPA in the country.
So, Mock, how is your lager Pilsner?
The Gambrinus, I love it so much. It's so good. When my dad comes, he always brings a 12-pack of it. I was happy to steal one for the show. It's so good.
You gifted me a Czech beer.
I did.
Authentic Pilsner Quell. Look forward to having that later. Souls.
I had the Harvest Hefe. Sucked.
Thank you, Sam Adams.
And then my farmhouse review. This week's contestant was Juliet. Pretty delicious. It very good. It's a sour. So it is sour. But it's got some nice hints of a little bit of blueberry and some raspberry and blackberry as well. And very good. From all of us here at Getting Sports with Drunk, we hope you had a happy holiday season, and we wish you a very happy new year. And be sure to tune in next week for our NHL show. It's going to be a dumpster fire. But I'm your hostess, Cupcake the Riddler.
I'm Mock.
Sheen Washable.
Nope.
I'm salty.
And I'm the Red Baron.
Yeah.